How's it going, guys? I wanted to share with you today 1 year in trail camera footage. So I've maintained between 2 and 4 trail cams, basically running continuously from September, late September, early October 2020, all the way through November 2021. So this is going to be a lot of footage. I think there's some really cool critters that I probably wouldn't have normally seen otherwise. So a bunch of different locations throughout Montana. And we're just going to dig right into this footage. All right, right off the bat here, we've got a little 2x2, little forky mule deer. This camera location is quite a ways from Bozeman. This is really cool. This is the only elk I got on footage, and it happens to be a really nice, I think it's a 6x7, you'll see it in a little bit. But just a new area for me. I hadn't explored this area before, threw up a stealth cam, and sure enough, October 11th, big old bull comes strolling through looking at the camera. These are supposed to be no-glow lights or low-glow, so I don't know how he can look at the camera or what he's looking at, being that it's 4:13 a.m. But yeah, apparently it was 25 degrees, and maybe it's a broken tine there. His sixth looks broken, but yeah, pretty cool-looking bull. Here's a little forky. I think he's trying to be a baby 4x4. He might have some little extras coming off, but he's essentially a forky mule deer just kind of walking through there. Here we have a mom and baby mule deer checking out the camera. I don't know if they're seeing it or if they're smelling it or what. So here's a little 3x3 mule deer, another buck, coming through here, getting his munch on. Walks in front of the camera, get a better look at his antlers there. Just kind of eating away in front of the camera. Here's a 4x4, a little bit bigger. And the reason I put the camera in this spot is it was an opening in a patch of timber, and I saw some game trails, so I figured it was a good spot. Here we have a moose. This is a different location. This is closer to Bozeman. Cow moose walking through in the snow on November 11th. Here's a little calf coming through, checking out what mom's doing. And then here is the other one. So mom and 2 babies coming through here. Again, this was an opening in some brush on a game trail, is why I put the camera there. Back up away from Bozeman, there's a little forky coming through, a little mule deer on November 11th. November 12th, we've got that, looks like that same 3x3 mule deer in front of the camera there. So I had 2 cameras at the same time at this point. Here's a little, I think it's a 1x2. Looks like he's trying to be a forky, but it looks like he's got a spike on one side, little mule deer buck. Back down closer to Bozeman on the Trail Cam 1. We've got the mom cow moose coming through. Here she is at night, November 12th, giving herself a good shake off. You can hear her ears flopping back and forth. It's kind of cool. Here she is again coming through, baby number 1 and baby number 2 on November 13th, about noon. Looks like 35 degrees, walking through some snow there. All right, back away from Bozeman, we've got that little future 4x4 coming through. So this is a new spot. This is a new camera location. This is not too far out of Bozeman. We've got a whitetail walking through there, whitetail buck. I always love seeing public land whitetails, and I should say that all of these shots are on public land. Whitetail buck coming through. Here's another whitetail buck following that same trail, just kind of maybe sniffing after his buddy there. This is into December now, December 10th. Always cool seeing some higher elevation public land whitetails. This is the best whitetail I got by far. Nice and pretty heavy, good looking public land whitetail. Strolling through there a couple seconds later on the same day, there's another buddy right behind him. So this is after the rut. They're just kind of hanging out in their little bachelor groups away from the females. And here we have, you know, a golden retriever. All right, this is a pine marten, which is really cool to see. You don't see those very often. I actually got a few of them on camera. This is back to the moose trail with the mom and babies. This is a red fox coming through on December 22nd. And December 27th now, 5 days later, fox kind of bounds off and skitters away. December 29th, looks like a little herd of mule deer does coming through that camera. And this is a new location. So this one's quite a ways drive from Bozeman. Got a coyote here in front of the camera checking things out. December 31st, 9 a.m. And here we have some cross-country skiers on a trail. This is really interesting. I didn't really know what this was going to be at first. I saw some eyeballs, see some light-colored legs. I was like, okay, yeah, it's a moose. And then I see another set of eyeballs, and I see some antlers. Oh, cool, it's a couple bulls. And then I see a third set of eyeballs. 3 bulls coming straight up to the camera. So that was definitely my coolest shot of this camera location on January 8th. Thought that was really neat to see 3 bulls like that traveling together. And that same trail that the skiers were on, that's a cow moose there walking through the back on January 10th. Cross-country skier again coming through. And there's a moose walking, 3 feet from the camera right by it. Into February, there is a coyote on that cross-country ski trail. Another coyote, February 6th. Whole bunch of cross-country skiers coming through. And there's a storm, and it just reminded me when I watched that, I'm glad I'm a human that lives indoors, because that looks pretty rough. Another moose coming straight through, right across the camera, getting a good look at him, or her. Into March, this is a new camera location, not far out of Bozeman. I had previously just been getting shots of the woods, and so I wanted one with a decent view. So here's a little better view than just looking at trees. Here's some whitetails, a little bit of a snowstorm, a couple more does coming through here. Getting a little snowy there on top of her head. A couple more shots. Here's a nighttime shot. The reason I put this camera in this location was I wanted a cool view looking out into the distance, but also behind me I found a bunch of deer beds, so I figured this would be a good spot. And here's a little snowstorm on March 29th. So this is really cool. This is the very first mountain lion I ever got. This is a new camera location. I was hiking with my girlfriend looking for sheds one time, and she found this mountain lion track in the dirt. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll come back and put a camera here. Sure enough, after a month, there was nothing usable except for like songbirds flittering around. No other wildlife on camera but that one mountain lion. So I was like ecstatic. I was so stoked about it. It was really, really cool to see a mountain lion. Fishermen coming through. This is the moose trail. Here's a couple of mule deer does making their way on through. So this is kind of a learning lesson. I included this shot because it is a moose in the background, but with those low glow lights, whatever is in the foreground is going to get lit up. So it was really, really bright at that limb in front, and then everything else was dark. So make sure if you think that there's going to be a branch in the way, move it, cut it, bend it out of the way. And then we're going to end April on a moose coming through and taking a pee in front of the camera. I thought that was kind of funny. New location, moose coming through in the rain, May 7th. This one's not too far out of Bozeman. Back at the mountain lion crossing, here's a red-tailed hawk that came down to get a drink. Thought that was cool. I've never seen a red-tailed hawk on a camera. Getting a drink before, and you'll see that hawk again. So I used a 2-camera setup, and by that I mean this is a game trail where the mountain lion crossed because I knew there was a water source down below. So about 50, 60 yards uphill, I followed that same game trail and put a second camera a little bit lower. And sure enough, I got a mountain lion laying down and taking a cat nap on the game trail. And I just thought that was the craziest thing, because what are the odds? I mean, first of all, to see a mountain lion on that trail, that's really cool. And a bat flies by, which is bizarre. So you have a mountain lion laying down. It's May 18th at 12:35 a.m. panting. Says it's 66 degrees. Looks like a little bit of light rain. But yeah, seeing a mountain lion napping on a game trail is really, really crazy, right in front of a trail camera. So I thought that was very unique. So it says Randy 01 cam on the bottom right. Randy was out of town, so I asked if I could borrow his cameras. And there is the lion about 40 minutes later coming through and crossing the water source from uphill where the other camera was and out into the night. So it was super cool, doing a 2-camera system. Back at the top of the hill where we briefly saw that moose running through in the rain. There goes a moose again after a couple cow elk are feeding. May 26th, we've got a mule deer with little nubs coming in there, little buck. This is a new location. This one's quite a drive from Bozeman on a game trail. So I don't know if you guys have put a lot of cameras out in elk country, in the elk woods, but you probably got a lot of this. For whatever reason, I find that elk are the most curious critters that I've come across that like to mess with trail cams, lick them, nudge them, rub their heads on them, rub their nose on them, smell them. So this trail had a lot of elk, and I got a lot of elk rubbing. Here's a little button buck, little mule deer, back on the camera closer to Bozeman. Now we're back on that trail we just saw the elk. This is just like a quintessential mule deer shot. I just think it's a really cool shot. It looks like a donkey. I mean, it looks like a straight up mule. Big ears, kind of got that mule face. Really cute looking doe comes up, checks out the camera, and something's not quite right, so she runs off. Didn't want to stick around. All right, June 4th, you guessed it. We got another elk messing with the camera. And this camera location moved. They moved it because I know I had it facing closer to the left, facing down the trail. And all these elk, so much elk nudging and moving, they just moved the camera to the right. So I didn't get to see as much down that trail as I'd wanted. But a couple young bulls mess with it, but mostly it's cows. This is the where the mountain lion laid on the trail. Here's a cow grazing while another, it could be a cow, but another elk is messing with the camera because that's what they do. June 5th. Fogging up the lens there. Classic. All right, so this is super cool. This is the first grizzly bear I got on camera. This was not entirely surprising. I have hunted and shed hunted and scouted this area quite a bit, and I've never seen grizzly tracks until seeing this grizzly. That was the first time. Last fall, I did see quite a bit of elk, obviously, and grizzly tracks, but really, really cool. I mean, Western Montana, Central Montana, you're going to potentially run into grizzlies. So haven't seen one in person in this unit that I've hunted quite a bit, but now confirmed trail camera footage of the grizzly. June 5th, 11:25 a.m. So a little over an hour later, this cow comes up that trail. And you can tell that something's off. She's looking around. She was sniffing the trail. Her nostrils are flaring. She's wide-eyed looking around. You can tell she's like really sniffing. She looks, you know, maybe a little alarmed. But she definitely, her body language, you know, another cool thing about trail cams, not only can you see what kinds of animal are in the area, you get to see how they interact with their surroundings. And grizzly comes through an hour later, elk comes through sniffing all around, and of course she can't help but mess with the camera. So there she is, you know, doing what elk do to trail cams. Comes another cow coming up, and you guessed it, messing with the camera. Here's a nice looking velvety mule deer buck. So many times I would come up to my camera to switch cards and there would just be lick marks all over them, and you know, just nose marks, saliva marks. Back at the camera at the top of the hill, not far out of Bozeman, bull moose walking through on June 10th. Red-tailed hawk yet again. This is the mountain lion water crossing. Just pretty neat to see a water source frequented by a red-tailed hawk. Could be different ones, but maybe it's the same one. So this is really interesting. I'm going to stop talking so you can listen. I want you to guess what animal or animals are making this sound. If you guessed mule deer, fawn, and mule deer doe, you are correct. And I didn't know that they made these noises. It's another cool thing about getting a trail cam that not only takes video but records sound, is you get to hear these crazy sounds. The mom sounds like a chainsaw. And the baby, I don't know, like a kitten or a puppy. It's just kind of an interesting noise. So that's something that I learned through this working with these trail cams, is you hear noises that you wouldn't normally expect. And you know, later on you'll hear an elk bugle in front of the camera, and you'll hear animals crashing through and all sorts of noises of animals walking by or making noises in the distance. Just really, really neat to be able to hear different things that you wouldn't normally hear, or you know, what kind of birds during what time of day are going off. So this thing is, I don't know, a day old, maybe less. It can barely walk. You'll see in a second here it has a little bit of trouble moving around. Right there, takes a little dive. Seems to get up right away. And then here's the twin. Another baby comes through. This one's also pretty vocal. So pretty cute to hear him and to see him. Pretty freshly newborn mule deer fawns, so it's pretty cute to see. Mom's looking around, and it's crazy. Like that same trail, on a different camera, on one of my personal cameras, I actually got a mountain lion on this same trail. So we had a grizzly, we've had a mountain lion, and now deer, elk. Like, it's really interesting what kind of animals are out in the woods and animals you wouldn't normally see. And classic elk, you know. Can't resist but lick the camera. I don't know if they're licking it or smelling it or what they're doing. Maybe they're just really curious and they don't, you know, they just like to mess with it. I don't know. Or maybe they know it's hunters scouting the area and they just want to, you know, fog up the lens as much as possible or lick it so they can't see as many game animals. I don't know. Lots of licking, lots of messing. And this little bull coming up has like bird poop on his face. I don't know what that white stuff is. But, yeah, curious elk. This guy's had enough. He doesn't quite know what's going on, but he doesn't like it. All right, June 21st, here's Mama and one baby mule deer. So at this camera, I didn't see the other one again at this location. Could be that it was bedded down. I don't really know if fawns travel with each other. Maybe she left it somewhere and then one wanted to come with. I don't know. But here's a little black bear. This was the first black bear at this location, the mountain lion crossing, coming down for some water. Looks pretty young, pretty small. Maybe it's a yearling. June 22nd, around noon. Pretty popular water source. Got some deer on it, you'll see later. But yeah, just a little black bear cruising through and hopping down back into the water, down the creek. The next day, June 23rd, looks like the same black bear coming down for some more water. Just kind of scoping things out, looking around, and just decided to go back uphill where it came from. Back into the woods. All right, Mama mule deer and baby definitely has its legs under him at this point. Comes cruising through. Back down, June 28th, baby right behind, jumping around. Looks like it's definitely physically, you know, like able to keep up with Mom, jumping over logs. Really cool to see it. This is interesting. A herd of cows comes running through 2 a.m., June 29th. I don't know what that's about, but pretty interesting. Something got him stirred. All right, we have our red-tailed hawk friend, or a different one, back at the mountain lion crossing, getting another drink, it looks like. Back at the Grizzly Trail, we've got a bull elk with some good growth coming through. And back at the mountain lion crossing, we've got a different black bear this time. This one's kind of got a cool reddish cinnamon color to it. Coming down for a drink here. Looks a little bit bigger than the other all-black one that we saw earlier. And July 3rd, we've got a cow elk coming through and the first elk calf. Might have been the only one on this location. The only elk calf I saw, but really cute, cool to see. Newborn elk. And of course, Mom has to come back through and, you know, give the camera a good lick. This one I have no idea what it was. Nothing came in front of the camera. Just 6 a.m., just something messing with the camera. Probably an elk, but I don't know. All right, back at the mountain lion crossing, little forky and velvet mule deer coming through. Getting a little drink, heading on his way. Cool to see bucks, no matter how big. This is interesting. This is a location I did not think to see whitetails. Here's a white-tailed doe down here feeding. You can tell by the much smaller ears, but also as she walks away. There's that wide tan tail with the white fringe. So yeah, whitetail in this location. And this is a Mule Deer Doe, July 26th. And there she's got two babies with her, July 27th. Or this could be a different deer. But yeah, that mountain lion crossing had quite a lot going on critter-wise. She goes uphill, baby number 1 goes uphill. Baby number 2. And as you'll see, there's a lot of activity with these little fawns. They just they seem to be having a good time chasing each other around. July 27th, everything's nice and green and lush. Babies are running around, chasing each other. Here's a new, this is a smaller forky mule deer coming through this area. And baby coming through, other baby coming in. And following that one going uphill. Baby zooming through. Another baby zooming in. Mama and baby. This is July 31st, 5:13 p.m. and other baby. All right, into August. Little bigger mule deer forky, maybe one of the earlier ones that we saw. This is a 3-point, 3x3 mule deer. Different guy, I don't think we've seen this one yet. And August 1st, we've got a forky going through, and the babies again, babies again. All right, new location. So the reason I put this one here, there's a mule deer, fawn, and mom. This tree right in front was a rub tree. I would assume elk by how large the scrapes were, about a foot off the ground to about 5 feet in the air. But it wasn't an old, it wasn't a new rub tree. It was an older one. So I didn't get any rub activity on there. Here's a cow elk coming and sniffing the rub tree. I didn't see any new deer or elk rubbing that tree. So maybe they just like to use some new ones. So there's an elk running through 6:10 a.m. August 12th. And I was like, what the heck's that about? But 4 minutes later, that is probably why. Interesting that the wolf comes from the direction that she ran to. But that was the first and only wolf I've ever gotten on trail camera, and that location there with the rub tree is about 100 yards from the Grizzly Trail uphill. So, really interesting. There's a long-tailed weasel, little ermine, running by on the log, slow motion. We'll run that back for you. Cool little guy. Again, you never know what you're going to see with trail cams. Here's a black bear, wet black bear. Looks like it's raining a little bit. Following that same log up that the little long-tailed weasel did. And now we have a mule deer with a little fawn and another fawn. So again, this is not far from that grizzly trail that the mom and mule deer fawns were on earlier. So maybe this is her and those twins grown up. Or maybe it's a different mom and twins. I don't know. But cool to see him. August 21st. So this cow just like takes off out of nowhere, and we'll slow that down for you. So 10:22 p.m. August 21st, and I was like, what's that about? And that's probably why. But listen. Super cool. Get to hear that deep throaty bugle like 20 feet from the camera. So I'm assuming he was just harassing that cow, and that's why she tore off. But really cool to hear an elk bugling in late August. We'll slow that down again for you. Another pine marten. Got a lot either of this same one or of different ones, but quite a few pine martens in this location. There's my dog Tucker. Just figured I'd include him because he's a big part of my trail camming. He comes with me on basically every time I set up trail cams, and I feel a lot safer in the woods when I'm with him. He's a good adventure pal. So this is a new location, again, from that rub tree, maybe 100 yards away. So I had 3 cameras at separate times, all within a quarter mile of each other in this unit that I like to hunt. So here's a decent little 5-point bull coming through, maybe a 3-year-old. And I put the camera here because of this water source. I thought it would be a wallow. I didn't see any wallowing, but this is really interesting. This is a red squirrel at 8 p.m., September 1st, September 2nd, 12:51 p.m., rubbing around. I have no idea. Maybe he's got bugs on him. I don't know what the deal was. But September 3rd, this red fox definitely smelled it, and he's like, whoa, what was that? And he goes and sniffs him out. I don't know if he, ends up getting him or whatever, but cool to see. This is me not killing an elk on September 5th. There's a cow coming through, hopping the old log. So with this one, I'll just stop talking so you can listen and hear what's coming. Might be the same bull as the August 22nd, but if you listen, you can hear him kind of grunting after that cow. So that was pretty cool. Got another pine marten here. skittering on that log. They like to use that log a lot. Animals seem to like that log for traveling. I showed this clip to Randy and he got really excited. This is cool. I've never gotten grouse before on a camera. Looks like a couple duskies or blues. There's actually a third one. If you look in the brush there behind the log, there's a third one kind of scooting around in the underbrush there. So yeah, 3 grouse. You never know what you're going to get on trail cams. And in case you missed it, it was really quick. Camera triggered late, but black bear comes flying through, maybe the one that we saw earlier. Pine marten again. Red fox comes through. This is September 23rd. Red squirrel incoming. Pine marten. I think the pine marten's here a lot because they prey primarily on squirrels, and that squirrel was very active in this area, so I'm assuming that marten was after that squirrel. It was. All right, got a coyote. Cool looking coat. Pretty colors. Back at this watering hole. So yeah, again, I thought this was going to be a wallow. It was just more a water source, which is cool. Got to see some cool animals coming in for some water. And this was interesting. All the times I've explored here, never saw moose tracks, never found any moose sheds, and there's a bull moose coming through. And I actually saw a lady on a horse go by as well at this location on camera, which surprised me. Got a herd of elk, got a spike in the back, got a cow with her butt facing the camera in the front. Back in the left, you can see there's a cow with a decent bull behind her making his way through here. So I got quite a good amount of elk activity in this area. And he goes to do a little bit of grazing there. And you guessed it, something messing with the camera. It's probably an elk. And it's a cow coming through, decides to give us a good look at her butt as she walks past. Camera's all foggy, classic elk. All right, so October 15th, we got a cow with, again, it looks like that same 5-point we saw earlier, coming in to get a drink. And I learned that you really have to angle the cameras down more than you think because it's not quite as low as I wanted it to be. There's like a 4-point that goes by in the back. We get a better look at him later. There's a little mule deer Forky showing off his nice rack there for the camera. 8 p.m. on October 29th. We got a doe and 2 bucks, decent 3x3, and that little Forky in the back there, coming to that water source. All right, now we got a couple cows coming in. This is November 5th. We're into November now, November 2021. There looks like might be that same mule deer Forky we've been seeing at this location. And there was a big old herd of cows there, and really cool to see a herd that big. November 13th, 7:30. And there's a decent bull. I don't quite think it's the same one we've been seeing, even though that big bull that bugled earlier was about 100 yards away at the other camera, but it looks like a slightly smaller bull than we've been seeing, but still cool seeing a nice bull coming through. So here's another look at that 4-point. It looks like he's a 4x3. He might be broken on the right. Can't quite tell, but he's kind of funky. He's got some mud and grass in his antlers there, like he's been rubbing and rutting. Checking out that female. This cow wants an up close and personal look at the camera here. And of course she messes with it. Get some good licks in there. You know, because she's an elk, why not? And this cracks me up. This little spike's just like, what the heck? What is that? All right, and here's a couple spikes with a cow. This is kind of funny, the behavior. It's fun to watch animal behavior on trail cams. This one little spike either didn't like the spike getting too close to the cow or didn't want it to get any water. I don't really know, kind of pushes him off. Again, that that Forky mule deer coming in for some water. Here's that 3x4 has got some more mud and grass in his antlers this time. Coming on through here, that's November 16th, 6:33 p.m. Good look at that weird broken antler on the right. And last but not least, red fox comes through November 25th. 2021. So that was a year, well, 13 months in Montana trail camming. For the most part, I was happy with these stealth cams. Had a lot of fun doing this project. I'm excited that it's spring. I get to get out there and try new locations, put different cameras out. If it's legal in your state, I would definitely recommend getting some trail cameras out on public. Please be respectful of other people's cameras. It's a huge bummer when you go to check your camera and the card's gone, or the battery's gone, or the camera's gone. It's a lot of fun getting to see what kind of footage you got when you get back home and you're able to check your SD cards. So yeah, thanks for watching and happy trail camming.